It's Coach Borino. Every Tuesday we do this. We chat, we talk about real estate, we talk about leads, we talk about clients, we talk about making money, being a successful rock star. It's good to see you, everybody. This is the first time we're actually testing this new platform, so bear with us if we have a glitch or two. We are broadcasting live to all the channels now, our friends on YouTube, my personal Facebook page, my business page, and of course you guys rock stars. That's my core. Those are my good peeps. So it's nice to have you. I'm really excited. We're going to share some cool stuff. Michael, what's happening? Good to see you. Bunch of good friends. Grace is here. Grace, congratulations on that first closing. That was really awesome. I'm really excited. Felicia checking in. Good morning to you, Felicia. Nice to have you. Grace closed the first transaction, first listing, joined Path a few weeks ago. I was really excited for you. So well done, Grace. Congratulations. Val is Hill from Fresno, California. Derek checking in. Good to have you. Aaron saying hello. Mr. Aaron, see, it's working. We are running it through Restream, and it seems to be working okay, right? Karen checking in. Karen, thank you so much for that lovely session yesterday. I really enjoyed chatting with you. All right, friends, should we dive in? Are you guys ready for some good stuff, good information, some practical stuff to train you, to help you? I'll do the best I can. If you want to come on board, as you know, I have a program out there called The Path that will help you. We'll build the systems together. We'll build your programs together, your mindset, your schedule, your lead generation system, follow-up, and listing presentation. Go to goborino.com. Jump on board. Would love to have you. Okay, so now, to your question. Today we're going to talk about marketing. Amanda had a question posted recently here on Real Estate Rockstars on Facebook. I'm needing some ideas for marketing, tried and true, please. I've been in real estate for a little over a year, but still can't find marketing technique for me that just clicks. I've done mailers, I've done farming neighborhoods, Facebook ads. I'm not a creative person typically, so that has been difficult for me, and advice is very much appreciated. And I understand what you're saying, man. The trouble we're facing in this crazy business, and the blessing and the curse, is that you can do whatever you damn please. That there's nobody really who has a structure. That's why I created Path for you, to help you structure and organize your business. Now, here's the fundamental problem with questions like these, like what method should I use? It would be like, kind of like, well, I want to take a bus. Where should I go? That kind of wouldn't make sense, would it? You know what I mean? That's a crazy question. So let's back up a little. First, ask yourself this. Who am I after? What do I want? And the two basic choices you have, buyers and sellers. Buyers or sellers? I've done many training sessions. We may do it again because some of you just don't hear me. Don't fucking work with buyers. You want to survive in this business? You want to have a sustainable business, scalable business, where you take some time off, you earn money, you're in control? Work sellers. Focus on listings. Easier said than done, Borino. I know. Hang in there. I'll show you how to do that. Don't focus on buyers. Also, if you have good sellers, you have good listings, buyers will come naturally through your marketing, through sign calls, through promotions. Your sellers will become buyers. You will double in transactions. You will move up buyers. But you will never control your income and your time, as many of you know. Right? Working with buyers. So focus on sellers. So start there. Who do you want to work with? Don't start with what marketing method to use. Should I be farming? Should I be doing blogs? Ryan, my man, Ryan Benton asked recently, right? Reached out to me. Should I use blogging? Should I use video? Those are vehicles. First, figure out a destination. Start with that. Who do I want? I want sellers. Awesome. How many? What do you want to end up with? So then, how many? Because you would use a different approach if all you care about is 10 listings in the next 12 months, as opposed to 25, 30 good listings. The plan would shift. The strategies would alter. Make sense? So how many? Amanda, how many? Is Amanda here with us? Let's see. I don't see her here. No. Okay. Makes sense still. So how many? Let's just make a number up. Let's say you want to take 30 good listings in the next 12 months. Ambitious, but doable. Okay? So then you decide, who do I want to work with? So there are two basic ways to do that. You have two basic methods. There's an active and passive. Do I spell it right? You know I'm the world's worst speller, right? When it comes to spelling, fuck that. I suck terribly. So we have active methods to lead generate and passive methods. Both good, both work. Many of you use combination of those, which is ideal. But you need to understand two basic differences. You need to be aware. Let's start with the passive method. This is where you mostly invest dollars. So what would be a passive method? Passive method is kind of like fishing. You throw a hook in the water and you hope the fish will grab it. So let's say having a bench ad, or running ads on Facebook, or running newspaper ads, monkey million other ways of doing it, is passive. When you put something out there and you passively wait for a prospect to respond, reach out to you, take action, like fill out a web form, for example, to contact you. Bulk of that is done through knowledge. You have to know how to do that, and money. Most of the passive methods are not free. There is one fundamental problem with passive, and that is you don't directly control who and how many will respond. You don't have direct control how many people will click on your Facebook ad. You don't have direct control how many people will see the billboard by the highway and call you. Problem number two. Problem number two, a lot of these can be pricey. I mean, you cannot build a Facebook campaign on $20 a month. That would be ridiculous. So be prepared to spend some money. It still works. It's still very effective. Facebook still works pretty well. You can still use it. Just be aware. The second is it's harder to scale because you can't build a very clear business model around it. So this should be your secondary focus, especially if you're not where you are. And clearly by Amanda's question, it seems like she's not where she wants to be in terms of production and generating business. The second alternative is active methods. These don't require dollars, these require work. But unlike the passive methods, here you control time and impact to a great degree. Okay? So what would be an active method? Active method would be to go out and contact 2 for sale by owners. Active method would be to spend an hour calling all expired listings. Active method would be to pass out flyers for an hour before your open house. Those are all active methods because you're taking the first step. The cool thing about the active method, after just a few attempts and few times of doing it, you can create a formula. So, for example, my recommendation, going back to who do I want to work with, is if you want to ramp up listing business quickly, focus on high probability leads. That should be your first order of business. Those are businesses that are easy to identify, high probability, you can identify them, high probability to reach them, and high probability to convert them. So what would be an example? New expireds, old expireds, for sale by owners, referrals, all high probability. Because if I get, let's say, a neighborhood of 100 random homes, and if I get a list of 100 expired listings, where do you think I have a better chance of converting into a listing? High probability, of course. So start with that. Start with the best primo leads. So we'll get to how first we decide who do I want to work with. So in order for me to do 30 listings, I would divide it into 3 groups. For sale by owners, and I will do a separate training for you just on FSBOs because right now about 70%, am I still in shot? Yeah. 70% of FSBOs end up listed with an agent. So if I can put 4 for sale by owner on my follow-up, that's at least 1 listing. Even if I lose some and some sell on their own and some list with a discount broker. I would focus on expireds, both new and old, new plus old. I would focus on my sphere, my SOI. And if I just do these 3 groups and a good open house once a week, I'm pretty good. I can start generating seller leads, okay? So that's the general overview. Now we can get to, well, how in the world do I reach these people? So rather than starting in the middle, should I be blogging? Should I be doing videos? Should I be doing postcards? Should I be doing farming? Start with, who do I want to attract? What kind of listings am I after? And then we're going to decide what is the best approach. The best approach is this. Few rules. Do not depend on single channel ever. Never depend just on one way. There is no one way. There is no just one method, especially now where we have from social media, we have Instagram, we have Facebook, we have LinkedIn, we have Twitter. That's on YouTube. Didn't forget my friends on YouTube. That's 1. 2, we have traditional direct mail, email, phone calls, texting, video, chatbots. Personal visits. There's a whole bunch of things. Distributing flyers, sending out postcards, networking, whole bunch of things you can do. So now, divide your marketing based on who you're talking to. So you're going to create a marketing campaign based on a lead you're attracting. Here's why it's important. I get people come to me all the time who say, well, you know what, I know you teach, Borino, you teach a lot about for sale by owners. I mean, you wrote a book on for sale by owners, so you clearly know a lot of things about them, but I try them and they don't work. Or people come to me about expired listings or whatever, any type of lead generation. And I say, here is the problem. When I start analyzing their business, when I start taking it apart, tell me about your approach. How do you do this? The worst possible way is if you use a generic approach. If you just go generic. Or worse, use some scripted template approach. No bueno. And here's why that matters. Once you decide who your lead sources be, now these are just examples. This is what I would do. This would be the easiest, fastest way to get them, but you can choose your own. You can work pre-foreclosures, you can work first-time buyers. There's a whole bunch of options. But the problem with generic approach is this. What I teach you guys is not selling. You know my story, right? I came from Czechoslovakia. I was an immigrant. Zero skills. So I figured, well, if I can't repair a car or build a house or do any of that, I got to get into sales. That was the only option. You know what I mean? I have 3 sales jobs. I worked for a telemarketing company. I lasted 24 hours. They kept me for 2 days. Fired. I was no good. I hated it, was no good at it. Boom, done. I got a job at Radio Shack in Glendale, California. There was a big mall, I don't know if they're still there, called Glendale Galleria. And on the 2nd floor, there was a Radio Shack store. Back then, they were big. They were bigger than Best Buy. They were bigger than a huge electronic chain. And part of our pitch was to sell batteries. And you have to pitch the batteries. You have to make the client buy the batteries or customer buy the batteries. I sucked. I didn't meet the quota. I constantly was under the quota because I just felt kind of sleazy. You know, you're going to buy the battery. Boom, gone. 3rd sales job, my epic fail to this day, was in real estate. 2 years into the business, I got homeless. I became homeless. I got kicked out of I was renting a little house, not even a house, just a room, in a house in Downey, California, right next to the 405 freeway, where you can just hear it. No, sorry, 605 freeway. The whole house was rattling. Homeless, kicked out, slept in my car. So, selling clearly is not the right approach for me. For some of you, you can make it work. You can pull out a nice, slick sales script. More power to you. Nothing wrong with it. For me, no bueno. So what I started studying is human behavior, influence, and psychology. Here's why that matters, going back to the generic approach. The psychology of a FSBO, their state, what they're thinking about, what their goals are, what they're worried about, the main objective is different than an expired listing. For sale by owner, in most cases, don't want to work with a real estate agent, they don't want to pay a commission. If I know that going in, my approach has to be different than an expired listing who wanted to be in Florida 2 months ago. The property didn't sell, they're pissed off at their agent. They're motivated to sell, but they sure as hell are not going to be very nice to me because now everybody in the real estate industry is an asshole. 2 very different people in very different frame of mind with very different logical construct, different goals. They both want to sell. Yes, they're both sellers, sure. But the psychology of their behavior is different. That means I come from different angle and understanding FSBO versus expired listing. Now, where it gets interesting is what do you do if an expired listing becomes a FSBO? Because then the FSBO is simply saying, well, shit, that asshole agent didn't do a good job. I can do a better job myself. How do you approach that? Again, different psychology. So knowing that I will be dealing with people, your marketing approach needs to reflect their fears, their desires, their goals, and their frame, their construct, their logical construct. Like, agents make too much money, I don't want to pay commission. That's a basic FSBO construct. Here's the good part. Once I know these constructs, and some of them I know up front, it's pretty obvious what a lot of these, I don't assume it, but it's kind of easy to know. Once I know that, I can work with that. Why? Because I have one thing most of these sellers don't have. I have data. I have data. What for sale by owners usually don't know, majority of them don't know, is 7 out of 10 will be listing with an agent within about 40 days. I know that. I interviewed the CEO of one of the largest for sale by owner websites in North America, FSBOR. They've been tracking over 90,000 for sale by owners. They got data. They have everything. They track it. So if I know that out of 10, 7 will be listed, and if I know it's going to take between 30 and 40 days, and if I know that with the right psychological approach where I understand and appreciate that they want to save money, I can work with that. Are you getting it? Now we can get into how do I market to these people. But there's one more problem. And Amanda mentioned it in that comment. Where you guys get stuck, many of you, is on emotion. You start filtering what you want and not want to do, not based on how profitable, how effective, how smart of a business decision it is, or marketing vehicle, let's say working for sole by owners. But instead, you filter it by, well, I'm comfortable with that, I'm not comfortable with that. Because if you start filtering it by how you feel about it, I can give you 5 reasons for every single method of generating leads, both active and passive, and I can give you 5 solid reasons why you shouldn't be doing it. Does this sound familiar? I don't want to call people because I don't like when strangers call me. I don't want to knock on doors because I don't like when strangers knock on my door, like Jehovah's Witnesses. A moment to talk about our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Does this sound familiar? The reason I know that, my friends, is because I was just as guilty. I felt uncomfortable talking to strangers, prospecting, doing what it took to generate leads and clients. Filtered everything through, well, that's not comfortable, I don't want to do that. End up being broke and homeless with the wrong mindset. Money's hard to come by, it's all struggle, there are not enough clients, business is hard. Yeah? Every single one of us has been there, one way or another, at some point in our lives. True or false? So, let's wrap this all up so it makes sense. You decide you want to work with sellers. You understand that good sellers will attract buyers. You make a plan. I want to do 30 transactions, list 30 properties in the next 12 months. I'm going to break it down into 4 lead generation funnels. I'm going to focus on the best leads, easiest to find, easiest to convert, easiest to approach. I mean, think about it. You can go on your MLS or you can jump on like Espresso Agent, get expired listings within minutes. You can go on Zillow, you can go on Craigslist and have for sale by owner leads within minutes. You can go on FSBO.com, for sale by owner.com, FSBOR.com, have a bunch of leads. You can set up a good open house, do one this weekend. There are all these things you can be doing right now with not a huge investment. You don't need fancy multi-step marketing, you don't need any of that. And you're talking to people who are already in the process. Make sense? So then, I would first focus on active methods where I can go and take a first step, where I don't have to passively wait for somebody to respond to me because I know that if I wait too long, there'll be another active agent that can snag, especially those good leads. Like the FSBOs, like the expireds, like the old expireds, like all of those. So now, I will create a campaign, one for expireds, one for sale by owners, one for referrals, for my sphere, maybe include past clients, and an open house. Now, question you guys ask is, how is geographic farming that came up as a lead generation to generate leads? Can it still work? Yes. If you use a multi-channel approach, that means you create a neighborhood, digital neighborhood, and we have in Listing University a great interview with my friend Nicole, who does the digital farming. She created like a digital neighborhood around the area where she works. It's on Facebook. It's a group on Facebook where people post activities, what's going on in the neighborhood, a little bit of a real estate update, not a whole lot. You combine that. You combine it with direct mail. You hold open houses in the neighborhood. You go knock on some doors. You get involved in, let's say, a little league, social activities in the neighborhood. Little by little, you will break into that neighborhood if the conditions are right. That means it's not owned by a single agent who probably lives there. The market is moving. It's a pretty affordable neighborhood. You can do that. There's a downside to something like that. It's going to take time. This is not an overnight thing. It's going to take months to build your presence and your reputation where people know you, like you, and trust you. So if you have the time and you're willing to put in the work, which will require multi-channel, multi-repeated steps to get established there, you can do this. But I would do it after I have all that in place. So, my friends who are asking about blogging, who are asking about all these methods, start with not what is the vehicle. Start with who am I going to attract and what are the best methods to talk to these people. Because at the end, the goal of your ads, the goal of your postcards, the goal of any type of marketing you do It's just one thing. That's the junction. And that's this. To have a conversation. To start and continue a conversation. It can be on the phone, it can be through text, starting through text, and then you escalate it on the phone and hopefully in person. That's your objective. That's the objective of every single marketing campaign. When you start working for sell by owners, what do you want? You want to have a conversation. When you reach out to an expired listing, what do you want? You want to have a conversation. Why is that important? Because you need to find out why in the world are they moving? Are they realistic? Are they motivated? What is their core drive and emotion? What really drives them? What is their goal? And what's holding them back? And you can't do that over email. You know what I mean? You can't do it with any passive method. So your objective, whether you're going to do passive, active methods, advertising, all that, any type of marketing, is your call to action, the driving. The next step is let's talk. Now this happens in 3 stages. Any type of marketing. Even if we run Facebook ads, we're going to have my man Aaron, who is a guy who runs my marketing, all our Borino Productions Facebook marketing. He's going to tell you the process in Facebook ads levels and all that. But it happens in 3 levels. First, you build a connection. Connection first. They need to know who you are. So you start creating familiarity first. Second step is goodwill. You start spreading goodwill. That means like offering something helpful, tips, advice, that kind of stuff. Third step is call to action. That's the third step. Now, you know why 90% of real estate ads don't work? You know why you run an ad on Facebook, you put money in it, you target audience, and it flops miserably? You want to know? Because you start here. Because they have no idea who you are, you didn't introduce any goodwill, you just start to shove them your new listing down the throat, or you're offering a free CMA, which everybody else is doing. Bad approach. Aaron and I will do separate coaching for you, how to use social media, how to run these ads and make money. And we're running big campaigns, so the stats and numbers and information we're going to share with you is going to come from a lot of trials and tests. Your goal, the call to action here, is to initiate the conversation and continue the conversation, because through the continuous conversation, you can establish relationship, number 1, you can qualify them, number 2, and you can escalate to step 3. Which is like, let's get together, if possible. Now, if the owner, of course, live out of the area, the process is the same. Steps are the same, you just don't meet in person, but it's to list the property, to see if you can help them, and if you can help them, help them. That should be your template for all your real estate marketing, for lead generation, whether it's active methods, whether it's prospecting, passive methods like advertising, marketing, direct mail, online, offline. All of that follows the same formulas, the same principles. Always start with who. And what are the best ways to communicate with them? What do you say, my friends? Is that helpful? Hey, Monica, what's going on? Excellent. So, Felicia wishing good morning. Mr. Aaron's here. Yeah, it's working. Mr. Aaron Bailey, that's the man I was telling you about. He's going to share some really good stuff. We're going to set up a special coaching session for you guys here so you can learn some good stuff. Jeremy would like to know, when a new expired says we aren't selling, what's the best rebuttal? Good question, Jeremy. First of all, kudos for working expired listings. Here's what you know. Somebody's going to list many of them, not all, not right away, but it's going to take time. So ask yourself one question. Is that good? Was this helpful, guys? Bring some clarity. See, that's what I do. That's my strength. I'm teaching you selling, bullshitting people, pressuring people, human psychology, and breaking something complicated into simple stuff. Can you do this? Yeah, you can break it into simple steps. You know what I mean? So back to Jeremy's question. You work in expired listings, you reach out to them, and they said, we are not selling. What do you do? Would you like to know? I'll give you some few helpful points. First, again, we have data. And what does data tell us? That let's say these are properties, okay? These are individual sellers. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 sellers. Those are our expired listings. So what do we know? Now, your numbers will be different. This is just for illustration purposes. Don't pay attention to the ratios. Pay attention to how this works. 2, as an example, will never sell again. They will never go back on the market. They tried it, didn't work. out of the game. 3 will go on the market right away with the same agent. That's probably typical in your market too. Again, number is different, but this is what happens. Then there will be 2 or 3 who will go on the market with the same agent, but there'll be a gap. A few days, few weeks, sometimes few months. Okay? Now, this 2 properties will go on the market right away with a new agent, immediately, within 24 to 48 hours. Super motivated sellers, build relationship and connection with another agent, hit the market right away. What happens to these guys? This is your best opportunity right here, this last bunch. This is where most agents fight, right here, for those who want to hit the market right away. And sometimes you can get them, nothing wrong with it. But very often, it's a fierce battle. You're going up against a lot of agents. Here's where the most money is, the last group. Because what happens is if you look at the timeline, the property goes on the market, it's active, then it expires, that can be 3 months later, 4 months later, 6 months later, then nothing is happening. It's quiet, 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 and then they relist again with a new agent. And this can be days, this can be weeks, this can be months. It is precisely in this time where your opportunity is. Because you already know, you have data. If you check your MLS, you can pull a very specific, very accurate data, how many of each are in your market. The same scenarios, the ratios will shift a little. So, this is the opportunity. But here's where it gets interesting. When you contact the expired the moment it expired, right here, you will very often hear, we don't know what we're going to do. We will probably go back to our previous agent. We're not going to sell. We're going to stay or jump to the lake. Right? You're going to hear stuff like that. So here's the interesting part. Why do they say no here and list here? Why do you hear stuff like, well, we don't want to sell. Don't bother us. It's possible that they belong to this group who will not sell at all. That's possible. But again, if you check stats, this is a bigger group. Make sense? So, the worst thing you can do is memorize a script or a line that will say, what if blah, 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 blah. Every time you tried a rebuttal, which is the old way of doing real estate. I remember they used to train us in late 80s. When the seller says, we already have an agent, you say, would you like to get a second opinion or bullshit like that? It felt salesy, it didn't feel natural. You broke the connection and the relationship and the conversation and you turn it into a sales pitch. You become just another needy, desperate, or aggressive, arrogant salesman. I've been there. It feels uncomfortable. So now, understanding their behavior, understanding their psychology will give you a lot more power. Don't abuse it. Don't abuse it because it's the powerful stuff, but you need to understand. So if I know that statistically, unless they have a valid reason, like, my mother passed away or the job transfer didn't go through, that's a condition you can do nothing about, but if they simply state we don't want to sell or we're going to go back to our previous agent, look at their action more than you look at their words. If somebody was willing to pick an agent, interview agents, sign with an agent, get the house cleaned usually, prepare it for the market, endure all the open houses and everything else that comes with selling a house, having it signed there and lockbox and doing all that, there's a good chance they still want to move. There's a good chance they still have some kind of a dream, some kind of hope, right? So if their previous actions indicated interest, indicated desire to some level to move somewhere else, there's still a possibility that with the right approach and some patience, I can still help these folks. Are you with me? So now, knowing that, I understand that I'm not going to be too concerned what they say here. Because I can tell you how many times the seller told me we're not going to sell, end up selling. I can tell you how many transactions and listings and commissions and tens of thousands of dollars I lost. Because the seller told me we're going to stay. 2 weeks, 3 weeks later, a month later, I'm driving by the house, boom, for sale sign. Has that ever happened to you? Right? So why is that? What they're governed here by is the negative emotion. That's why they react that way. They're protecting themselves from all the salespeople. They're reacting emotionally to the frustration, anger, disappointment, and confusion, all that other stuff that usually goes in their head. Remember, if you understand the psychology, you can influence that. You can explore it. Not exploit, explore. So if I know, well, they're frustrated, they're disappointed, the best approach is not to handle the objection, but to shift their state. And this is straight from my program, the brand new one. We just released it. Expired Plus 5.0. That's from there. If you want it, get it. It's really good. Go to expiredplus.com. Now, understand first. Understand first their state, their emotions, their psychology. Disappointed, frustrated, angry. Can't be done. Agents are assholes. There goes our dream. So instead of giving them some kind of rebuttal phrase, clever line, I can start a conversation, if possible. Now when I say, first I align with them, I know it sucks. It's disappointing. You guys wanted to live somewhere else. You probably had a hope and a dream, and now it just kind of goes in a smoke. You may be better off staying where you are. I agree. Rebuttal creates pressure. Rebuttal creates reaction. Rebuttal creates resistance. If I start aligning, if I say, totally get it, maybe you're better off staying where you are, there's no resistance. Are you getting it? There's no resistance. So I align. I may not agree with what they say, but I appreciate and understand how they feel. So I'd say, yeah, I totally get it. Maybe you're better off. Question for you, though. Let's say buyer walks in tomorrow. They fall in love with the house. They walk in, they fall in love with it just like you guys first time you bought it. In that little sentence, I didn't change their mind. I didn't rebuttal. I changed their state. I shifted their emotion slightly, but enough to kind of tip the scale. Because I put them in a different state. Their mind cannot help but lock on the idea, yeah, I remember first time we bought the house. It was kind of fun. We were younger. It was 20 years ago. And we just got married, and we were expecting our first kid. And we found the house, and first we thought, it's kind of small, but it was our first house. We were excited. That goes on their head. Now I implanted a movie, a memory that might have taken place. I'm shifting how they feel. And now I offer another movie. A buyer walks in tomorrow, suitcase full of cash, ready to buy, offers you a good price. Would you consider it? And again, this is a neuro-linguistic programming. It's an embedded command. Consider it. That's what their mind subconsciously, not directly, focuses on. This is some pretty cool influence judo I'm doing here. First, a mind movie of them purchasing the house. And the second, a buyer with a suitcase full of cash. I'm not saying I have a buyer. I'm not saying I have an all-cash buyer. I'm not suggesting misleading or lying to him at any point. I'm simply asking a question with some heavy embedded stuff. Now, what I'm going to pay attention to the moment I ask that question is not the words. I'm not that interested in words because words will be very much tainted and governed by their state. But what I'm paying attention to is the energy, the reaction, how their body responds, where are their eyes going to go? How are they going to overall react? Will I see a little bit of the tension go away, a little bit of hope, maybe a smile? Or even better, will I get an IOI? IOI. That stands for indicator of interest. And here's what it would look like. Something like, well, do you have a buyer? That's all I need. That's a signal there is still a possibility. And it may take some time. It may take a little more conversation, maybe days, maybe weeks, maybe hours, maybe months. But now I have something I can work with. So I start the conversation. Remember we said the objective is just get into a conversation. Would they still like to have that house in Florida? What I want to explore is why are they moving? What is the real reason? That's the key to working with all the sellers, guys. That will give you tremendous power to understand what is it they're really trying to do and why. Why does it matter to them? And it is not about a bigger house. It is not about a 3-car garage. It is not about having a 2-story house. It is not about a pool. It is a construct what those things represent to them. That's the emotion that's really driving them. You, as an expert understanding it, will put you in a very different league. So I know it's a long answer to a very simple question, but what I want you to walk away with is not just a clever lie, but understanding that if you start exploring these connections you're building, this relationship building, from a psychological standpoint, you're going to understand that there are only two driving forces that play a role here. The reason they're staying is because there was something holding them in place. You know what that usually is? Fear. They're afraid that the house down in Florida is not going to be as nice. They're afraid they're going to pay too much. They're afraid they're going to hate the move. That's why people procrastinate. There are two discomforts. The discomfort of moving, the discomfort of staying. The discomfort of staying is lower. That's why they stay. If it's not pulling them or if it's not pushing them out of the house. You, as an expert, need to discover what that is. That will give you unbelievable influence power. But here's the best part. They will get clear. They will understand. They will suddenly feel like, not only is this agent getting me, I'm kind of getting clear on what the hell I want to do in the first place. Does it all make sense, guys? Is that helpful? All right. You guys seem to enjoy it. Good. So, Jeremy, that's your answer. I hope it helps. If you want to get the system, man, this will help you with all this stuff. JC says, I'm so happy I found Borino. Such a great content. Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. Barbara says, hi, Borino. I want to thank you for your point style of coaching. Realtor in Southern California since 1999. Wow, you go way back, Barbara. Good for you. I need to help getting the sellers to list with me this week, sending them text. What do you advise? Good question, Barbara. I would advise send them a text. Have you given up? Or do you guys still want to move? And when they respond, we completely gave up, we're not doing it. When they respond with anything else, fantastic, I'll call you back in a few minutes. Keep it simple. See, again, just like with handling objections, there is no fancy, clever little text that will suddenly make people list with you and open the doors and they will line up in front of your office to get a listing. I know you don't expect it, but don't rely on one little clever text to do the heavy lifting, because the heavy lifting happens, and I'm going to write that word down again, in conversations. Where they get to know you, they need to have three things in place to do business with you, Barbara. They need to like you, trust you, and respect you. And I have yet to discover a text that will accomplish these three things. The purpose of your text is to start the conversation, because through that conversation, you start establishing that you're a likable person. They feel good about you. They trust you. That means they don't feel you have an agenda, you're not needed. Now, yes, of course you want to list a house and get paid. If you can help them, help them. But it needs to happen in a sequence. First some goodwill, relationship, then offers. Make sense? So trust you and respect you. That means if you tell them it's going to sell for $550,000, they're not going to fight you. They accept your authority. You're in charge. That all happens through conversation. That can be a 10-minute conversation on the phone. It can be 10 conversations on the phone. That's why the follow-up in this window right here is so important. That's critical. Because if you notice, and you've been in it since 1999, you already know all this, is majority of your conversions happen right here. During your follow-up, no matter what kind of lead you have, very few convert right away. Very seldom you would walk into an expired listing, have a 10-minute chat, and they go, where's the listing contract? We're ready to sign. Right? It took some repetition, some texting, emails, follow-up, conversations, direct mail to convert them. That's what happens in this window. That's why the Expired Plus has like 6 months of follow-up, because sometimes that's what's necessary. See, I'd rather follow up for 6 months and make that $10,000 commission on each listing than lose the opportunity. So rely on these tools like texting, like Instagram, like video to start the conversations. That's what you want. So explore. Now be okay. Some will say yes. Some will say no. There are only two reasons when they say no. Whether it's an expired, referral, doesn't matter. Either it's their CDE or you. When people don't do business with you, goodbye. When people do business with you, it's only for one of these two reasons. Either moving is not that important to them. The pain of staying is not that bad. The pull and the excitement of the prestigious, beautiful house on the ocean, or being close to the family, or having that new job is not that important to them. Moving doesn't matter to them very much. It's one of those, nah. That's option one. Option number 2, they want to move. They want to go. You. The problem is you. They don't like you, trust you, and respect you enough to do business with you specifically. Here, there's nothing you can do. If you're certain they're not going to move, here's a good question to ask. Since we're already on the verbal judo, you ask, well, why not just stay here, guys? You have a beautiful house, lovely neighborhood, you've been here for 20 years, why not stay? And again, I'm not as interested in words as the overall vibe, energy, reaction. Because they will tell me quite a bit how bad do they want to move and what's the obstacle. If they indicate, no, 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 we want to be, our plans are by the summer, we want to be near that golf course in Florida. We already picked a place, we want to go. Then I know if the problem is not here, I got to work on my relationship skills, my communication skills, my trust building skills, my connection skills. Make sense? So yes, use texts. Yes, use direct mail. Yes, use all the tools. The more, the better. The more communication channels you have opened, the better. But remember that at the end, the funnel meets in one place. You need to have open, honest, authentic, real conversations rather than some scripts and pitches. Yes, at the end you offer them, why don't we get together? And let's get the sucker going. Let's get this going. Let's put the property on the market and let's make it happen. But that only happens once they like you and the trust and respect has been established, where you're in control and you're clear that you can help them. Then you have the obligation to help them. Just like I have the obligation to help you guys. And if you want my help, just come do the path with me. Just jump on board. I'll help you build all the systems. You'll get all the lead generation, follow-up, listing presentation, all the good stuff. It's all there. Just go to goborino.com. It's only $197 a month. No brainer. Hop on it, friends. All right. How are you guys liking this new thing? I like this new platform. This is really cool. Tracy has a really good question. Tracy would like to know, how far back should you go to look for expired listings? Good question, Tracy. Go as far back as you can. Old expireds are very often really good leads. Here's why. New expireds in many markets first get pummeled. A lot of phone calls, a lot of texts, mail, all that bullshit. But most agents don't have the follow-up for this window right here, so it kind of dies down. Very few diehards, and they're usually my students, stay. But here's what happens. Just because the property doesn't sell doesn't mean their dream goes poof. Sometimes it does. There are conditions that literally change, and that's it. They're going to stay. That's this group. But there is a group who says, you know what, we're not dealing with it. Fuck it. We're not selling. We're staying. But deep inside, in the back of their mind, there still is that Sunday morning on a golf course, grandkids running around by the pool, spending Thanksgiving together with the family. It's still there. It just has been covered temporarily with the reality. They didn't get their price, the agent was an asshole, he was not communicating with them, the buyers were picky, whatever. So the stress and the frustration of selling the house just overrides that hope, but it's still there. So the trick there is you start rekindling that hope. And that's a process that, again, very seldom happens on one go. There's not just one magic letter or one magic postcard. Yeah, the Expired Plus has the package. It's a specifically designed expired package that helps, communicates. It's a good, strong marketing. But I wouldn't rely just on one. It's going to take a process. I'll give you an example. Like you and I are the same, just like your clients. Think about it this way. Some of you have known me for, we go back years, right, guys? Some of you guys I've known for a very long time. There was a gap from the time you start watching my videos and came to my Facebook group and start getting my emails or whatever way I communicated with you. And you became my students. You became my clients. And sometimes it was weeks, sometimes it was months, sometimes it was years. Where you came to my training, you learned, you picked up ideas until you felt comfortable enough to trust me that if I take your money, I better goddamn deliver. And I have to deliver. That's my reputation. That's the most important thing I have. Just like your reputation is the most important thing you have. So you establish that connection first. Start slowly. Then you spread goodwill. You offer something helpful. You're just non-threatening, soft approach, nurturing the relationship. Then, when you feel and they feel they're ready to talk, you talk. And it can take some time. It's a process. But whether you talk to an expired listing that expired 3 months ago or an expired listing that went off the market a year ago, those both can be really good leads. And you can quickly start gauging and establishing just by having a conversation, if you can, on the phone, in person, or just start mailing them something, texting them, to see if they would be interested. If they're just kind of playing with the idea. You don't want to threaten them directly by saying, "You ready to list? Because I need a commission because my mortgage is late this month." You don't want to do that. You want to be soft about it. But what if somebody walks in tomorrow? Would you at least consider it? And if I get anything else other than hell no, I got something I can work with. I got something that I know if I nurture, there's a possibility. Yeah? Is that helpful? All right. Jeremy said it was helpful. Barbara says, sellers are an expired listing, went to the door, said they got my postcard, follow with your script so far, now hesitating, not ready yet, text daily until listing appointment, any other suggestion? There comes a point where texting daily just becomes a nuisance. If you're not getting a response, or if they're simply stonewalling, what I would do instead, Barbara, is just find out what's going on. It is okay to have an open, honest, authentic, real, non-threatening conversation. And the question I would ask is, what's holding you guys? What's holding you back? I'm not here to pressure you. I'm not here to make decisions for you. My job is to see how and when I can help you, and if I can help you. But just like you expect me to be 100% honest with you, you can be 100% honest with me. There's no agenda or anything. No pressure. I'm not here to sell you on anything, and worse, not do anything that you would regret later. So you can be honest. Tell me, what goes on in your mind? What's on your mind? Because the reason they're stalling is something worries them. There's some uncertainty. And maybe you can address it, maybe you cannot. Maybe it has to do with the circumstances of their lives, situation that may be going on a very different levels that has nothing to do with real estate. Maybe not. But by having these conversations, that's what you want. You want to explore it, and you want to position yourself as somebody who's there to help. That's the most powerful position to be in. Because if you provide goodwill, if you provide helpful information, if you can honestly tell them how long does it take to sell a property, if you can be real with them, they respond to it really well, rather than some gimmicks and some clever lines. Okay? So find out. Find out. Knowing that will help them and help you as well. Adar says, I'm buying milk and watching. Milk? Dude, you're on my seminar, not seminar, but on my broadcast, my show. You should be buying tequila. Fariba says, I'm new in Canada, new in real estate. Your videos have been very helpful. Thanks. Oh, my pleasure. That makes me happy. Adar says, it's very helpful. Jeremy says, shift the thinking. Got it. Something like, why do you think it did not get sold, right? Yeah, that's not a bad question, Jeremy. Tell me marketing tools to improve leads. We talked about that, Chick. Fadi would like to know, what do you think of hold open houses for a FSBO without signed listing? Fadi, those are two separate questions. There's a legal part to your question, which you should definitely run by a broker and run by your attorney, what paperwork you need, what are the legalities of it. But as far as marketing, relationship building, if I have a for sale by owner with whom I have a good relationship, where we spend some time together, I wouldn't do it at the beginning, but if I follow up with them for, let's say, 2 or 3 weeks, and I feel like they're motivated, I understand their situation, they trust me, doing an open house, if I know, oh, this house would make a good open house, totally doable. Absolutely phenomenal tool. And many of you guys, my students who have the FSBORINO, who have this bad boy, one of the suggestions I have there is how to do an open house for FSBO, how to set it up and present it. It can be a great tool. It can be fantastic. Yes, you should do it. But there's a catch to that. Make sure it's going to be a good open house. Because if you're going to get 2 or 3 people through, you're going to look like an idiot. That's the last thing you want. So just have your ducks in a row, do some promotion, do some marketing, be certain that you're going to get some traffic. You explain to the FSBO, and this is the part of being an honest guide and advisor, not a bullshit salesman. You tell them, look, there's no guarantee somebody's going to buy it. I can't promise you that. But what I can promise you is that with my marketing, we're going to put a lot of signs out, we're going to spread the word, I'm going to run some promotions on it. We should get a decent traffic. And then I'll give you the list of leads, or if you want, I'll follow up with them. We'll make it work. Now, of course, cover situation like what if An agent with a buyer comes during an open house and the buyer wants to buy it. What happens? Cover stuff like, what if a buyer does come in and want to buy it? Does the FSBO want you to represent both sides, one side? How do you want to proceed? But don't get bogged down too much by the technicalities. Because at the end, as you know, somebody walking and buying the house, that's a small chance. But impressing the seller, big chance. If you show them, look, we got 25 people through. It was a good open house. Now, you follow up with them. That's your job. You're an agent. Well, no, I'd like you to do. Okay, I'll follow up with them. And now you get 25 potential leads. Not a bad deal. Then you follow up with them. How did you like the house? Would you like to make an offer? No, that wasn't perfect. Fantastic. What are you guys looking for? Terrific. And you get in conversations with them. Yeah, so do it. Do it. Good idea. Hey, Adam, what's happening? Hey, Borino, is it true there is much direct mail marketing material that's part of your program for the price? I've been interested in subscribing to your program. Adam, that is true. Both the FSBORINO and the Expired Plus, I mean, you can get them both if you want. We have a Success Plus package where you get them all. Or if you come on board and do the path with me, you're going to get them one by one and I'll help you put it together. But yes, one of the channels that I want you to communicate on is direct mail. Here's when it's important. Let's say you have an expired listing. You have a phone number. Use something like Espresso Agent or LandVoice or RedX or one of those services, Vulcan 7. You call them, no answer. You text them, no response. You email them if you have their email. You email them, no response. You go visit, knock on the door. Nobody's there. You're going to leave the package there. Then what? This is where most agents stop. Thinking, well, you know, I left a message, I dropped by, they were not there, I left a note, I left a package. Hopefully they'll call me. Not rock stars. This market and the level of intensity of this business requires more aggressive approach. Now by aggressive, I don't mean like, you know, salesy, aggressive, asshole approach, but more intensity, more repetition. So the direct mail kicks in and you start sending postcards, letters in a very specifically designed sequence. And there are 16 steps to the sequence where you keep in touch, keep in touch, keep in touch, keep in touch. Because here's what I found, and this is important. In this follow-up sequence, majority of my conversions. So this is the thing. I teach you stuff I did. This is not something I heard somewhere or read somewhere. I actually sold real estate, you know what I mean? So most of my conversions happened between contact 5 and 15. Touches, follow-up touches. And there was a combination in most cases. Phone calls, mail, whatever. So the more of these channels you open, that includes like email, social media, and I'll give you all the tips, all the content, all the texts, all that comes with it. Letters, you know, it's a copy-paste. But it's going to take between 5 and 15 of these touches for them to say, you know what, come on down, let's talk. That's what I found. So it's a long-term game, no matter what. And I know I told you that these are the hot leads. Yes, they are. So now imagine if you have the shitty leads. You know what I mean? Or the buyer leads, even worse. Ah, that'd be terrible. All right. Oh, hello from Slovakia. It's my buddy Andre. What's going on, dude? It's good to see you here. Tracy says, thanks for the advice. My pleasure, Tracy. Meeting with FSBOs today. How can I schedule a follow-up listing appointment with them? Evan, that's a good question. You can't. Because you really don't know if you can help them. You know what I mean? That would be like, I'm going to meet this girl for the first time. How do I ask her to marry me? Real estate is a lot like dating, right? Real estate is a lot like relationships, like dating. You don't know. You can't. You can't know. Don't even try. Don't be needy. Don't be desperate. Don't rush. That would kill you if they feel like, oh, this dude... Easy. Take it in steps. First, understand. Get to really know them. Now, I'm not saying you need to spend 3 hours going through the family albums where they grew up on all that shit. That's not necessary. But get to know, what is the situation? What are they trying to do? Why? What is the core driving emotion? What is it that they're really trying to accomplish? How soon? What is the timeline? Because if they tell you, well, we got a whole year to get this fucker sold, do you really want to sell it like that? Of course not. You don't. You only work with motivated sellers with a high intensity, high core driving emotion. That's who you want. So get to know the situation. Spend a few minutes exploring. where you have a chance to get to know them, their situation, their circumstances, how realistic they are, can they actually sell, and they get to know you. They get to like you, trust you, and respect you. And that process can take from a few minutes to half an hour to several conversations, sometimes weeks and months. You know what I mean? So don't rush it. Now, is it possible they'll be ready? Sure, it's possible. Is it possible that they will give you IOI, the indicator of interest, where they say, what's our next step? We really want to get this going. Yeah, be ready for it. I always had contracts in the car. I was always ready. And I wouldn't turn it down if I felt like timing is right and I understood enough. But remember, it's a process. It's a sequence. It's like dating. First date, second date, third date. You know, little hanky-panky, and then we'll see. Then maybe marriage. You get it? So that's how it works. So give yourselves and give them a chance to kind of explore, get to know, understand. Because the biggest problem, not just new real estate agents, but most real estate agents run into, is they try too fast, too much, too hard, without really understanding. People don't feel heard, appreciated, and listened to. People as in prospects, clients. Why? Because most agents are needy, because most agents need money. That's why most agents make, what, $47,000 a year. So take your time, really listen, ask some questions, listen. It is one of the most important techniques to really develop, where you can really hear what they're saying. Not just in words, but what does that mean? What is their construct? Yeah? All right. Maxim, what's happening, Maxim? Sanjay says CDE stands for core driving emotion. Yes, that's exactly what it says. Good advice as usual. Glad you appreciate it. So Mary, that's what CDE stands for. I need advice about door-to-door. Yassi would like to have some advice. I'm eager to do this, introduce myself to the homeowners. Best approach. Yassi, best approach. What I did, I would take a little market update. If I had a listing in the area, fantastic. I would put a listing on one side of the flyer, put an update on the back side. Call to action would be free market evaluation. It was kind of lame, but that's the best I could do. I figured most people will not call because of the flyer, so I used it just as a tool to start a conversation. So always have an objective while you're there. Door-to-door still works. It's still good. I door knocked city of Whittier like 2 or 3 times, the whole place. It took a while, a few months. Good time to go door knocking is before an open house. You can promote the open house. And again, you approach it from like a human perspective. Hi, my name is Borino. I'm with ABC Real Estate. I'm helping John and Mary around the corner. I listed their house and we're going to hold it open this weekend. So I'm inviting neighbors. Come stop by. We're going to have some wine and some cheese, some refreshments. Here's the information on the property. How about you guys? Have you thought about selling? Any plans to move? Would you happen to know anybody who may be interested in a nice home like that? Somebody who would make a good neighbor for you guys? Well, cool. Well, if you can make it, I'll be there Saturday from 1 to 4 o'clock. Looking forward to seeing you there. Short and simple. And yes, most people will say no. Or they will be polite. They'll say, yeah, sure, we'll stop by. They won't. It's fine. But I do know that if I approach enough of them, somebody's going to say, yeah, we were kind of thinking about what are the homes going for? What are they asking for? How much is the house? Or my boss is looking into selling or looking into buying. My sister may be interested. Well, send her over. We'll be there Saturday. We'd be happy to. What's her name? I can text her the information. What is her number? And I take out my phone. Send it out. Okay? Nice and simple. Now, if you listed a new property, same thing. I'm helping John and Mary sell the house. They hired me. If it's your company listing, they hired us. Would you happen to know somebody who may be interested, who's thinking about moving? It's a really lovely home. How about you guys? How long have you lived here? Would you go somewhere else? Conversation. If they're not home, leave the flyer there. That's it. Just listed, just sold, price reduction, market update, what's going on in the neighborhood. Anything goes. Doesn't matter. Just have a reason. Have a reason why you're there. Barbara says, thank you for breaking it down. Always too helpful, and you have a way of taking the anxiety out of it. It's normal to feel a little bit of anxiety at first, Barbara, in all this, especially if you haven't done a whole bunch of, like, you know, my first 3 expired listings, I was nervous wreck. Are you kidding me? The paper was shaking like this. It was horrible. You know, I smeared everywhere. My palms were all sweaty. My heart was racing like I ran 7 miles. So it's normal to feel anxiety. It's normal. The discomfort is normal. Your reaction is normal. But I promise you one thing. You keep doing it and doing it and doing it. Reset your mindset. Role play a little so you get more comfortable in the dialogues. And all these programs, the Expired Plaza and the FSBORINO, they all have the dialogues there. You don't need to memorize them. You just kind of get the idea of what you're talking about. It's going to get better. It's going to get easier. After a while, I was just like, no big deal. Some people will be nice. Some not so much. Some people will be home, some won't. Some people are interested in selling, some are not. But I knew that statistically, if I put enough of these into the pipeline, into my system, and if I approach them first impression plus follow-up, somebody's going to say yes. Even though I was a new agent, even though I sounded all silly with my silly Czechoslovakian accent and all that. You know what I mean? Then it really just becomes, I'm going to do my best, and I'm going to do it in high enough numbers to start converting. That's the secret. And using the right system. Okay. Hey, Mr. Dio from Edmonton. Nice to have you. All right, my friends. Well, looks like your questions have been answered. Evan says, thank you, Borino. My pleasure, man. You're welcome. Glad I could help you guys. Peter says, hi, I'm agent in South Africa. Holy shit, we got somebody from South Africa. How cool is that? Peter Kruger, greetings to you, my friend. I wanted to buy your listing presentation today, but I was told you don't ship your product so far. Any other arrangements that can be made to get it? We can figure it out. Peter, send us a quick email, and we will take care of you. We will absolutely ship it to you. I'm personally sure we will. And the Listing Presentation Plus is actually not a physical product. It's all online, where you're going to learn human psychology by watching videos, and then you're going to get a copy of my listing presentation. So shoot a quick email. Our email is, I can write it on the board. It's easy. info@borinoproductions.com. info@borinoproductions.com. Send us a quick email. We will get it to you, Peter. I will make sure we will. Okay? Tracy says, thanks for the advice. My pleasure. All right, guys. Liz says, 7 months. Love it. Good. Recently expired. Nigel says, recently expired listings really resistant to pay for another bunch of VPA just after having failed with early campaign. Any ideas how to counter that? Again, there is not one little clever line that will counter that. It will come through time and through establishing, through this process, that you're different, that you care, through exploring. And be ready. Some will never do it. They will never go back. Remember the groups we talked about? And some will. And those that will, ask yourself this, Nigel. At the end, who is the best candidate for the listing? Who gets the listing at the end? Is it the best agent? No, because what is best agent anyway? How do you judge it? Is it always the agent with the most sales? Of course not. Is the most experienced agents? Sometimes, not always. Who gets it? It's the agent that satisfies 4 criteria. Best first impression. That means at the beginning, when the conversation started on the phone, in person, or email, or text, or whatever, they didn't come across as too salesy or too needy. Nice first impression, that's one. Somebody who's confident and competent, so they know what they're doing and they feel confident about it, but they're not pushy. And somebody who is a persistent follow-up, because it's through that follow-up they establish relationship. You now notice, are you noticing how the follow-up keeps coming up, how important that is to have a good library, to have the good tools, good resources to keep in touch with these people? Because it's really that follow-up that cements your positioning, that establishes you as the authority, establishes you as a helpful advisor, not just another silly sales shyster chasing a listing, where they feel comfortable, they feel connection, they feel like they can trust you. Look what we're doing here. I've been doing these live shows for, what, 4 years, 5 years? I walk the walk. It's the same process. I give you so much goodwill. We build such a good relationship that there will come a day with some of you who will say, you know what, take my money. Teach me some shit. Help me. And I will. And you can hold me to it. That's my job, is to turn your career around, to help you make money, get listings, help clients, and enjoy the business. Because it can be very enjoyable. I went from homeless to Mercedes and a condo and vacation in Venice, Italy in about 10 months. And I'm a slow learner. It took me a while. So you can do it. It can be done. Yes, it requires work. Yes, it requires rejection and discomfort. Yes, it requires time. Yes, it requires effort. But what's the alternative? You're not going to sit on your ass anyway. You're eager to work anyway. You're already working plenty probably. You're probably pretty busy already. So I just want to harness it and focus you on the right stuff, where the business is. And we're going to take away focus where the business is not. So if you're still driving around on the weekends, showing property to buyers and hoping, we're going to fix that. Okay? Peter says, thanks, I'll do it. Awesome. So Naja, I hope that helped. Daksha says, hi, I love it. Good. Hey, Mr. Anthony, good to have you. All right, my friends, so if you're curious about the path, go check it out. It's goborino.com. It's an ongoing program. I really love teaching you. We have live sessions, we have Q&A sessions, hot seats. You're going to get my systems all broken down. I am here to help. That's my focus. So come hop on it, go to goborino.com, or just get one of the systems if you want. You can get the Expired Plus, expiredplus.com, get the FSBO if you want. All there for you. Or just come back. Do these sessions every Tuesday at noon. You're welcome to join us back. Thanks for being here today. I'm glad it all worked. We broadcasted to the whole world. YouTube, Facebook, rock stars. I'm excited. Nothing broke. I didn't break anything. That's the first one. Thanks for being here today, you guys. Have a fantastic rest of the day. If there's anything I can do, please do reach out. Let me know if I can help. I'm here to help you first and foremost. Don't worry about the money. That's going to come in later. Anyway, I'll talk to you real soon. Have a terrific day. Go get them. Plenty of business out there. I'll talk to you soon. Ciao.